Hi, I'm Donna Fuscaldo. I'm a senior finance writer with business.com. Today we're speaking with Charley Moore, the CEO and founder of Rocket Lawyer, the online legal company. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Given the unrest, given the storming of the Capitol, given that a lot of employees got busted there, or other protests or riots, do small business owners have the ability to fire someone because of something they saw on Facebook or saw them engage in illegal activity outside of the office?
Well, hi, Donna. It's great to talk to you again. I'm glad you're doing well under the circumstances of the crazy year we just finished. And like most things in law, it depends. As a general rule, most employees in the United States are at-will employees, and most states are basically at-will employment states, which means you can be fired for any reason other than things like discrimination if you're in a protected class. If there's a public policy involved, then that may outweigh your at-will employment. You certainly can't discriminate, you can't retaliate. But other than that, in most states and for most employees, your employment is at will. So your employer doesn't need a reason to terminate the employee. Having said that, many employees are covered by contracts, collective bargaining agreements in the case of employees that are represented by unions, often may have rules or especially processes, arbitration, oversight and review of terminations. So the employer should know, what are the rules that they operate under. Many executives and even non-executives in white-collar office work environments have employment agreements, and those employment agreements work both ways. So let's say you do something that you're on social media, or heaven forbid, out in public, that your employee finds may cast a negative light on the company or yourself as a representative of the company. Many of those employment agreements will have a morals clause or something to that effect, which would constitute grounds for termination.
What if you're a small business with like 5, 10 employees and you don't have this moral clause, or you don't have anything on the books? Can you run into legal trouble if you fire someone because they were at a protest and doing illegal behavior? But is there a distinction between like getting disorderly conduct in a bar and storming into the Capitol? Is there any legal problems that you can run into?
Storming in the Capitol is reprehensible. I actually wrote a piece about the myriad laws that the Capitol rioters and insurrectionists most likely broke based on the evidence that we've seen. So that's reprehensible. And you nailed it, Donna, when you said lawful conduct. Some states, California happens to be one, that does have some special rules where an employee can bring an action with the California Labor Commission in the event that the employer terminates them and the employee thinks wrongfully terminates them for legal behavior outside of work. And so a legal protest would potentially fall under that. But the operative word here is legal. If you're breaking the law and you're convicted of breaking the law, I don't know of any situation where the employer wouldn't have the recourse of termination if they sought to seek it.
Great. Do you expect more of this, more issues with employees, employers as we head into 2021? Or do you think we're getting to a calmer time?
Well, these have certainly been divisive and polarizing political times that we've just lived through for at least the past 4 years. The most divisive, certainly in my lifetime, and I would say probably since the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. Assuming that polarization and disunity starts to dissipate, then employers may be in a situation where they don't have to make some of these really difficult judgments. No mistake about it. People have a right to speak their minds. They have the First Amendment. But remember, that only applies to government action. It doesn't apply to private action. And so while the government may not be able to clamp down on an individual for any particular speech that the government, quote unquote, would not agree with, that's our First Amendment right, that doesn't run to private employers. And so businesses, a lot of the value that a business carries is its goodwill. And the business is going to use its judgment as to whether an employee's behavior, sometimes even legal behavior, may damage that goodwill asset and that reputation of the company that is so valuable.
Great. So final advice for small business owners as they navigate this. When do they fire them? When do they not?
Yeah, the first thing is have an employee handbook. So my first piece of advice is for anybody who employs anybody, even if you have one employee, you ought to set down the rules of employment in an employee handbook. They're required, again, I'll speak for California, when you have more than 50 employees, you have to have an employee handbook. And we've all seen the postings in the office. I could do an hour on this, but I'll just say, training about discrimination, harassment, proper workplace behavior, and proper behavior outside the workplace. That training should be part and parcel to your employee handbook and your rules of the road for working at your business.
Great. I want to thank you so much for taking out the time to chat with us today. It was really, really informative. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Great to talk to you.